folks, it's Ben. I'm here with another Gilson video. This one isn't the tractor, it's the FT2G tiller. It's gear drive. The issue I'm having is that this fall, sitting in the garage, it started to puddle oil underneath the gearbox here. Now this is a pretty basic drive in terms of it's got the horizontal shaft motor coming out the back here, a simple belt tensioner, which there's technically supposed to be a pulley in this joint, but what I do is I lubricate the belt. It tightens the belt, turns the big pulley down here so we get some mechanical advantage. There's a shaft that comes straight through, and I'm sure there's a worm gear that interacts in the front here, and it obviously sits in an oil bath because it's dripping oil. Now there is a Phillips plug on this side right here, which I think is our access to our oil. So I don't mind it leaking. I'm almost okay with that. But the issue I have is I need to replenish what does leak out of it. Now, I don't think I want to assemble it. Doing a little research on the internet, a lot of these were quote-unquote sealed for life, so they should be good. That being said, I don't know what their service life was planned. I think this is like an early 80s unit, so we're already pushing, geez, almost 40 years old. So I don't know if we're there yet or not. But I'm going to open this up, probably drop some Lucas oil in here since that can be used as a straight gear oil. But we'll pull that plug and see what's going on there. These look like, they almost look like rivets, to be honest with you. Can't quite see for sure, but yeah, there's no hex on them. There you go. Looks like it just might be a rivet. So I don't really think it's meant to come apart. But as you can see down here, it's wet still. So we've lost something, a seal or tightness. Once again, I don't mind as long as we can keep refilling it, even if we have to do it seasonally. So let's go take that screw off and see what we can find. Not much of a plug, it's pretty aggressively threaded. And if I drop it, it goes, but there's a plastic seal there, which means that it's probably holding something back. Of course, I probably should have cleaned this off a little bit before, But let's wipe this down with a paper towel and recover my screw here. And yeah, see, it's got moisture on it. So I think this is supposed to be full to that level, and that would make sense because the way the gearbox is. So we'll tilt her on the side and put some oil in there and clean it up and see how it goes. With the hole clean and the area clean so we don't drop any dirt in there. I'm going to use some Lucas oil. It's a oil stabilizer, and used in gearboxes you can use it up to, what is it, 60% or even up to 100%. So that seems like fine for us. And my nozzle's cut a little narrow on this thing, so, or wide, because I use it mostly in motors. Oops. So I'll figure out a good way to get this in that hole there without taking the tines off. So let me squirt some in there. I put as much as I could in there. I have a bottle of Lucas transmission fix which had an uncut nozzle, so I just made sure I cut just the very tip off and it fit right into the hole. So I squirted some in there. Lucas stuff is really sticky, so I don't know how well it's flowing into the hole, and I can't really run it when things parked up on its side here, leaning on the Harry mower. So anything is good. I've only noticed a couple drops, so let's assume that just maybe less than an ounce is actually out of the gearbox, so that should technically be good. Technically, I guess I could leave it overnight, but I'd like to use it instead. And this stuff being so sticky, looks like it burped a little bit there. I'm not gonna, it's gonna get around for sure. So next I'm gonna scrape off the back here, make sure there's nothing, another fill hole I'm missing, and then we'll button it up, but that might do it. It'll at least keep things lubricated, and that's really what we're looking for. The only catch on these is sometimes they're like, oh, use a really lightweight oil. I don't have the instruction manuals. I don't know what it was, but I'm just going to assume a heavier weight oil would be fine. Nothing crazy on the top side, just rivet holes here and there. A neat little, looks like a revision piece, honestly. At some point, there's a little bit of aluminum casting here, or steel, probably aluminum, around where this bearing is for the shaft. So I'm wondering if this would break off, so they put this, eventually cast in this little support piece, it looks like. Other than that, just rivets. It seems like it goes up to the base of the tiller. So the motor might be sitting on something, but that wouldn't be a user serviceable item. They don't usually require you to pull the motor off of it. So we'll go with that. That's our fill hole, and it makes sense it's that way. Give it a wipe down and we'll give it a test. So I did a little cleanup on it, just scraped the grease and dirt, spilled oil and what have you. I don't really like to pressure wash these because water is my enemy. I mean, dirt's my enemy too, but water is also bad. I like to keep this thing as dry as I can. So we've got new grease in theory in the gearbox, scraped off some of the bigger stuff. Needed a little bit of oil in the crankcase, so I put a little Lucas oil in there because I'm crazy. Topped it off, the gas somewhat. You never really want to fill these up because when you're in the garden, this thing's shaking around and you're gonna spill gas and it just drips right into the garden. So usually about 3/4 of a tank is as much as I like to put on them. The only safety device on this tiller, if you want to call it that, is there's an off switch on the top. So we'll open that up and we'll pull the choke out. It's one of those older Briggs. It's already, you have to keep it in drive, so and I did grease the belt a little bit just for me. So we ought to be able to pull on this thing and it should go. We'll see. I think it's been pretty loyal, so see if I can do it with one hand is the catch. I don't really want to put my foot on the Tine. No, we're up to 3 already. Yeah, it's going all right there. Watching. Leave any questions or comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for awesome updates on what I'm doing. Please check out the next video I've got lined up for you, and also check out my Patreon page if you want to support what we're doing here. And finally, check out my other less tractory page, Red Barn Homestead. You can subscribe to that too, see some awesome stuff, and we'll see you next time.